Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm going to be discussing the Delphi murders again today. So if you're unfamiliar with the case, I've left some links in the description that cover the case in its entirety. I actually told myself that I wasn't going to discuss this case anymore unless I had something to add to it, and today I actually think I do. So today, I would like to talk to all of you about this.
As search crews show up at the Monon High Bridge, it makes me wonder, were the girls' bodies laying where they were inevitably found? Or were they not? Remember my previous video when I said that the girls were murdered elsewhere, in a barn on Mears's property? Let me show you something. A drone was brought to the scene that had a FLIR thermal imaging camera fastened to the bottom of it. I reached out to this individual and he kindly was able to answer some questions for me. Questions that I believe blow this case wide open. The FLIR thermal imaging camera is a very sensitive camera that registers heat differences using color grading, much like these photos. As you can see, when something is hot, it lights up. So in a dark, cold wooded area, with trees and bushes no longer carrying leaves, a warm body would 100% show if it was there, especially only 3 hours after going missing, wouldn't it?
So today we're going to be discussing a video made by the YouTuber Matt Sullivan. I've left links to his channel in the description. In specific, I want to discuss the thermal image drone that was used in the search for Abby and Libby on the day that they went missing. I want to make it very clear here at the start that I'm in no way criticizing a YouTuber, but this video is actually meant just to challenge the scientific claims and ideas made in the video, not him. So, in short, Matt suggests that the girls may have been killed in a separate location from where their bodies were found because their bodies actually wouldn't have lost enough heat by the time the thermal imaging drone was used to search for them, and that the drone would have actually seen their body's heat signature if they were still in the woods. I think that there are a few problems with this logic, starting with this.
Hi, this is Devin from T Equipment, and today we're going to be talking about thermal imaging and how to find moisture. Usually we talk about moisture in a home inspection type environment. You want to look out for molds, and one way to do that is using a thermal imaging camera instead of using a point measurement tool. Because water tends to resist temperature changes, we can find it when we have a changing temperature environment. So if it's really cold outside and you've got the heat on in your house, say you didn't have the heat on, you were out for the day, and you come home and you turn the heat on. So in that changing environment, as the house is heating up and it's cold outside, any moisture, say in your drywall, is going to resist that temperature change more so than drier materials. And that's how you find moisture in the home environment.
Matt cites Newton's law of cooling to describe how a body would cool given the temperature of the ambient air around it.
Now I know what you're saying. The bodies are outside, it's the middle of winter. Wouldn't they have cooled? The historical forecast shows it as being between 1 and 3 degrees Celsius on February 13, 2017. There's also little change the day after. Now I know some of you will claim, oh, it was cold outside, so the bodies would have cooled fast and not showed up because of the environmental changes. Newton's law of cooling states that the temperature of a body changes at a rate proportional to the difference in temperature between a body and its surroundings. This process is called algor mortis and is defined as the postmortem cooling of a human deceased body. After death, the body's circadian rhythm stops. Many biological functions begin to shut down to prepare the body for decomposition. This includes the hypothalamus, a homeostatic feature that maintains our body temperature while we're alive. And yes, I know that the girls were outside and that they were exposed to the elements, and surely, according to Newton's law, that would have had the bodies cooling a lot faster than normal. Still, the act of algor mortis would have taken much longer than only a few hours.
This is a direct quote from ScienceDirect.com, which I have linked in the description. It says directly, Newton's law of cooling states that the larger the temperature difference between an object and its surroundings, the quicker it will cool. However, it has been well accepted that this pattern should not be adapted for cadavers. So clearly, Newton's law shouldn't be used here. In Matt's defense, however, one of the reasons is that certain metabolic processes can actually continue after death, which causes, cooling to actually happen slower, which would go along the lines of what Matt is suggesting. But it's complex and it doesn't always happen. And also, external factors can make the cooling process very complex. So there's not really a one formula fits all type thing for this situation. And there were extreme external factors at play that day. The temperature that day may have been warmer than normal, but there's something that I think Matt may have been overlooking.
Now that it's warm enough to swim, have you noticed even on hot days the water is much cooler? Well, there's a reason behind this. Storm Team 10's Chris Piper joins us now live to explain.
Susie, I'm here at the Deming Park pool, and when it comes to the summertime, it always seems like you have to do a lot to keep your pool right at that perfect temperature. There is a reason for this. Whether it's an ocean, a lake, or a pool, water is very reflective. When you think about being by the lake or the pool, the sunshine is usually reflecting right off of the water, so you're almost always having to put the sunglasses on, again, because the sun reflects right off the water, so it's very reflective, doesn't really absorb a lot of that heat that the sun puts off on these hot summer days. Another reason is color. Water tends to be a lighter color than the land around it. You can see the pool back here is a nice blue. The grass I'm standing in right now is a darker green color. So then that just comes to basic science. Darker colors absorb heat better, lighter colors reflect heat more.
I don't think anyone is arguing that the girls went through the creek that day. If they actually ran across a creek, I think it's entirely possible that they might have tripped or fallen in the water or splashed water up on themselves. As the previous clip mentioned, water warms much more slowly than the air around it. So the water that day was actually much colder at the time than the ambient air, and this would have greatly affected the time it took a body to cool. The only information that we have about the crime scene in the public comes from a series of leaked text messages that supposedly came from one of the searchers who found the girls that day. Now, if those leaked texts are in fact accurate, or at least somewhat accurate, then one body was covered in soaking wet, cold clothing from head to foot, and the other one was covered with underbrush, which I believe would have made thermal imaging at the time virtually useless.
And of course, other things that you just nice thin piece of paper, absolutely fantastic for hiding from the infrared.
Also consider that Libby was nearly 200 pounds at the time that this shitbag killed her, and Matt's theory would suggest that the killer would have managed to sneak the girls all the way to another location, all while remaining unnoticed, then forcibly carried their bodies through the woods in the dark, up and down hills, all while no one heard or noticed him. Now, it's not impossible, it just seems so unlikely to me.
Hey, Jed Johnson here from DieselCrew.com. Check out this footage from tonight. We were working on a 200-pound kettlebell.
Yeah, but versus like here.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Grip it and lap it, okay? Then just kind of gather it. You get right under the neck and stand up.
Okay. Well, I was trying to flip it upside down.
Yeah. That's going to be hard.
It's fucking heavy down there. That's a heavy motherfucker. I got in the bottom.
The Delphi case is by far one of the most frustrating true crime cases I've ever heard of. People have completely picked this case apart looking for literally anything that might lead to who the killer is, and I think all of us get that. But we have to be careful when creators here on YouTube or on any platform present things as evidence in this case, or any other case, because there's a chance that someone might watch one of these videos who actually has information that might help solve the case, but they end up dismissing it because they think the case might already be solved or they received incorrect information. And with that being said, as always, thank you so much for watching.